Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. You know, President Trump, here we are. We're getting to the end of the first year of Trump's second non-consecutive second term, and it's just been a year of promises made and promises kept. And one of the biggest stories of Trump's second term so far, it's hard to pick just one, right? Because so many of the things he's done are just massive stories. But one of the biggest stories is a war that he's taken on that the left will never talk about, and that's the war on crime. The war on crime. And crime across the board in the United States is down at just historic levels. Look at this. This is in red state. The Trump effect, the murder rate in America takes a stunning turn. By the way, all the stories that I share and cover, I do post these on X. So if you go to my X at Brian Craig Show, you can get the original sourcing if you question any of this. But listen to this. This is just amazing. Red state. Whether you're a fan of Donald Trump or a detractor. Now, who would be a detractor against a guy that has this amazingly low murder rate? How could you be against that? You've heard me talk a lot over the last few months about how the things that the liberals are opposing Trump on are things that are universally good, right? Universally good, like saving lives through reducing the murder rate. Whether you're a fan of Donald Trump or a detractor, one thing is inarguable. The president's first year of his second term has been consequential, as in extremely consequential. He and his administration are having an effect on virtually every walk of life, from social issues to the economy to immigration, both legal and illegal, to, well, everything. The U.S. appears headed for the largest one-year drop in murders in history. Did you hear that? It's amazing. The U.S. appears headed for the largest one-year drop in murders in history, according to well-known crime analyst. That's the conclusion of crime statistics expert Jeff Asher, who says new national data show killings plunging at a pace not seen in modern record keeping. According to his Real Crime Index, the United States is on track for the biggest single-year decline in murders ever recorded. And by the way, this is being reported on Newsmax as well. But it's not just murders, which are great because, there are people that are alive that would not be, right? And there's also people that would that there would be attempted murders that hadn't taken place either. But it's not just murders. Look at this. Motor vehicle theft, down 23.2% in this country. Motor vehicle theft is a big deal. If you're the owner of the vehicle that gets stolen, you don't just lose a vehicle. You really, if you get the car back, it's awful because it has a marked title. But it's like a car accident. Your insurance doesn't cover the replacement of the vehicle or what you owe on the loan. It's just a terrible thing. But motor vehicle theft down 23.2%. Murders down 19.8%. Robberies down 18.3%. Burglaries down 14.8%. Property crime down 12.3%. Violent crime down 10.2%. Theft down 8.9%. So what are the Democrats running on? Why would you not support Trump in 2026 to not only retake the House and the Senate, but even gain seats? How can you run against something like this? And, the reasons for it are several. Some of it is sending the feds into some cities like D.C. A lot of it is the deportations because they've been arresting and deporting so many violent illegals. A lot of the illegals that would normally go out and doing crime are on the lam, hiding in God knows where, avoiding ICE so they're not out doing crime. Some of it is because the economy is doing better and, people aren't being pushed to crime through poverty. There's all kinds of reasons, but it all goes back to the same thing. It's the Trump effect. It's all President Trump. If President Trump had not won re-election as the 47th president, how many people would be dead that are not dead from murder right now? How many people would have been victimized by some criminal somewhere that haven't been victimized? How many cars would have been stolen that haven't? Right? I mean, think about it. It's crazy. He should get a Nobel Peace Prize just for this statistic. It's absolutely amazing. But the never-Trumpers and the Democrats what are they going to do? Try to tell you that the largest reduction in the murder rate in the history of the statistic in the United States, that's somehow a bad thing? Think about it. Yeah, he hasn't even been in a year yet. And the first few months of the first year is a transition period where you got to get people in place. So, this is like, 6, 7, 8 months at the most of work that's led into this. This is absolutely amazing. If you're just joining, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. The Brian Craig Show podcast is available on all podcast platforms. Wherever you get your podcast, just search for The Brian Craig Show, and I'll pop up. If you want to catch the show live in video form, where I'm taking live calls and you can see and hear all the videos that I show, and of course see me as well, because it's the video version of the podcast. That's on YouTube and YouTube Music. Just search for The Brian Craig Show on YouTube and YouTube Music. These are just amazing things. Things that no rational person could oppose. Universally good things. And, I was talking on the podcast yesterday, which, by the way, after you're done listening to this podcast, you should go back and listen to that one. It's the one about Nick Shirley, which is he's an amazing person, isn't he? Oh, my goodness. He has the biggest story maybe ever broken in the United States that's going viral right now over this Christmas weekend. But every aspect of life for Americans and those in the country legally is either better or getting better, all because of Donald Trump. And people are starting to realize this. Now, the liberals are always going to go back to their same old thing, but people aren't buying that nonsense anymore. They really are not. This was an amazing story on CNN. They got the story all wrong. They found this guy who's a Border Patrol agent, and he's a legal immigrant from Mexico. Can you imagine? I know, it's crazy. He's a legal immigrant from Mexico, and he's a Border Patrol agent, and he's patrolling the southern border along the Great Wall of Trump, and they interviewed him on CNN.
I'm not going after my own kind, because my own kind will do it legally.
Born in Mexico, Agent Claudio Herrera first came to the U.S. as a student. He says it took him 11 years to become a citizen, and 6 years ago, he joined the Border Patrol.
I've been asked sometimes before in my past, aren't you ashamed of apprehending your own
What do you say to
blood?
that? How do you answer that?
Of course not, because I'm protecting my community. My deepest advice to anybody that is coming from Mexico, we know that you want a better future for you and your family. But if you decide to do it illegally, you will only find jail or you will only find death.
We found that even with all the debate and tension right now around deporting migrants, interest in joining the agency has not necessarily dropped off. But most of the potential candidates we spoke with stressed that deportations are not what's attracting them to Border Patrol. Instead, they pointed to the new financial incentives, efforts to stop drugs from getting into the U.S., and what one candidate described as a job that means both enforcing the law and, as he sees it, helping migrants navigate legal pathways into the U.S.
Okay, I know, some over-intellectualizing of nonsense, but this guy here, this American, because remember, you come here legally, You go through the naturalization process, you're an American, not some hyphenated American. I'm not going to call him a Mexican American. He's an immigrant from Mexico who became a U.S. citizen legally. Took him almost 12 years. And, you know, the way the liberals think, this is so insane, the way that liberals think. You know, we call it liberal logic. And they're acting as if this guy is betraying his own people. Why? Because he's a federal agent, he's law enforcement, right? And he's arresting criminals. Those are his people. So I'm an American, natural-born American citizen, Native American. So does that mean that all the people that are natural-born Native Americans like me that are in prison for whatever crimes, from white-collar to the most violent, I'm supposed to not want them imprisoned because they were born in America too? So this guy, because he was born in Mexico, is supposed to support Mexicans committing crimes? How does that even make sense? Right? It makes no sense at all. And you know what the liberals really are doing here. What they're doing, it sounds, when you say it that way, it sounds like what it is. Even a liberal would have a little bit of a headache with that. But you know, liberal logic. These crime statistics that I went over, a huge part of that is because of shutting down the border. It really is. There's no getting around it. I mean, there's many other reasons too that I went through, but that's a big one, and that's a good thing. You know, even those that are victims. You know, when you're the victim of a crime, even if it's a break-in, it's traumatic. Have any of you been crime victims? I have. Have you ever had a home broken into, a car broken into? It's a violation. It makes you nervous. You know. And it's scary for people. Should not live in fear in this country, and you shouldn't have to. And the Democrats have told people in their states and in their cities like Chicago that deadly crime, dangerous crime, violent crime, well, that's just, you've got to learn to live with it. Because the Democrat Party, for whatever reason, has embraced violent criminals. That's why they don't want President Trump to send the National Guard into Chicago. They would rather people be victimized or even murdered than have President Trump stop it. These are sick and twisted people. No doubt about it. Sick and twisted people. And for all of these liberals pretending to be MAGA, who say, well, you know, I thought Trump was okay, but I'm America first, and he supports the Israel. You know, all the support we give around the world, they're only concerned about Israel. Do you want us to stop supporting the UK and South Korea and Japan and the Philippines? I don't hear people talk about that, just Israel. But it doesn't get more America first than these crime statistics. And you're going to hear me all this next year, and you really, I would like you to join me in this. We can win the midterms if we have a turnout, if we swamp them at the polls, like we did in the last presidential election. There's so many conservatives out there, like Tucker Carlson and others, who are undermining Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Mark Levin, and others, that are undermining everything that Trump is doing. They don't care. They're all into their own self-preservation for whatever they're, you know, if they're clout chasing for clicks and views, if they're being paid by Qatar, I don't know. But don't listen to these idiots. Don't listen to these idiots. They're disruptors. Their goal is not America. Their goal is themselves. Now, we all have a survival instinct. I get it. But they're undermining a man, Donald Trump, and a movement, the MAGA movement, that has given us the lowest murder rate in this country's history since they've been keeping statistics on murders. So these are just not things that any conservative, I don't care who they are, if you're a Republican and you're not behind Trump and what he's doing, you are not a Republican. I don't like calling these people rhinos, Republicans in name only. Rhino is just too mild. I like to call them rats, Republicans against Trump. But anyway, look at what the Democrats were doing, not only giving us high crime and open borders and all of this. This is CNN talking about the last census.
One of the big things is it helps decide congressional maps.
Right.
Does this have everything to do with redistricting?
Well, it does. In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island.
Do we know that?
We do know that. The Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that. Blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island then didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted. Listen, this is just a fact. It wasn't all red-blue, but it was disproportionately red-blue.
Yeah. See, everything the federal government does is through the census. It's not just congressional districts. It's federal funding. Remember, the Electoral College is done because of the census. The Electoral College votes a state has is based on the number of representatives in the House of Representatives that a state has. So if your state has 20 reps in the House, you get 20 electoral votes. If you have 50 reps in the House, you get 50 electoral votes. And everything the federal government does pretty much is based on the census too. And the Democrats have been cooking the books on the census. See, a lot of people think that, that the country's evenly divided 50-50. No, there's Democrats out there. Don't misunderstand me. But Democrats probably have maybe 30 seats in the House of Representatives because of the monkeying around with the census, right? The Democrat, what we're seeing now, right, with these very low, like single digit, double digit, depends on the poll. The best polling that the Democrats has them in the teens so far as their support in the Congress, right? What we're seeing now is a complete correction to see actually what people are thinking in the country. The Democrats have been overrepresented in the Congress, in our local government because of the census, because they've been obviously overrepresented in media, in film and television, and it seems like this lunatic liberal positioning on every issue out there is the mainstream. But you know what? It's not. There are liberals that support this by the millions in the country. Don't misunderstand me. But the country's not 50-50. Maybe 55, even closer to 60% conservative on most things. That's the reality of it. But because of the monkeying around with the census that they're admitting to here on CNN, some of these blue states like California are very much overrepresented in the government with their representation in the House. So it gives people this illusion of a 50-50 split on the political ideology that really does not exist. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover, all right? My name's Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Are you struggling with unanswered prayers, facing doubt in your faith journey, wondering if God is really listening? There's a transformative truth waiting for you. The groundbreaking new book reveals how God's answers to your prayers, according to His will, is always yes. Not sometimes, not maybe, always. God said yes. He never rejects, only directs and redirects. From author Gaten Glover Sr. This isn't just theology, this is life-changing. Discover how this perspective can transform your job search with confidence that God's affirmative answer is already unfolding. Strengthen your faith during health crises and personal challenges. Guide your parenting through disappointments with renewed wisdom. Navigate ethical decisions at work with spiritual clarity. Revitalize your Monday mornings and reconnect with your purpose. Whether you're a new believer grappling with faith, a longtime Christian facing spiritual burnout, someone in a season of doubt, a parent, professional, or seeker, you need this fresh fresh lens on God's will. Through biblical narratives, personal stories, and theological insights, explore how God communicates with you, always aiming towards your ultimate good and growth. Find peace, discover purpose, experience God's yes. Available now. God said yes. He never rejects, only directs and redirects. From author Gaten Glover Sr. There's also a study guide that comes with the book that you can download. A transformative guide for your spiritual journey. Peptide research is exploding, and GLP-1 is leading the charge. Across the country, researchers are exploring metabolic, regenerative, and cellular repair models like never before. At mypurepeptide.com, based in Dallas, Texas, they supply high-purity, lab-verified peptides for controlled research environments. Whether your work involves GLP-1 metabolic studies tied to weight and energy balance, cellular health and modulation models, or tissue repair pathways, mypurepeptide.com is committed to supporting your research with clarity and consistency. Visit mypurepeptide.com and use code DALLAS to save 25% on your order for research use only. mypurepeptide.com. Do you want healthier chickens, stronger immunity, and rich golden yolked eggs without relying on chemicals? Of course you do, but how do you do it, and where do you even begin? That's easy with the new book from author Mary Butler, The Herbal Hen House, Nurturing Your Chickens with Nature's Remedies, available on Amazon. Author Mary Butler is a devoted chicken keeper and herbal enthusiast who brings more than a decade of hands-on experience straight to your coop. The Herbal Hen House is a warm, practical guide that shows you how to use safe, effective herbs to support digestion, boost immunity, and improve egg quality, as well as help prevent common flock problems naturally. When you read The Herbal Hen House, you'll discover easy, beginner-friendly herbal remedies, simple DIY blends that you can make at home, as well as clear guidance on what's safe, what to avoid, and how to care for chickens at every stage of life, from chicks to senior hens. Whether you're raising your very first flock or have been tending chickens for years, The Herbal Hen House gives you the confidence to ditch those harsh chemicals and raise healthier, happier chickens the natural way. The Herbal Hen House, Nurturing Your Chickens with Natural Remedies, from author Mary Butler, is available right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. Order your copy right now. Your chickens will thank you.
All right, we're back. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name's Brian. Welcome, everyone. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in and you're watching live, the number's pinned in the live chat. Toll free no matter where you're tuned in. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Now, on my podcast yesterday, I covered Nick Shirley, what he did in Minnesota, and I was wondering with Nick Shirley in Minnesota, that was amazing coverage he did. And he always has great stuff. But, he's been at the White House recently, meeting with the president. And I'm wondering if the Trump team sent Nick Shirley to Minnesota to do that, or connected him with this gentleman. I don't know. Nick Shirley's done a lot of great reporting, but he's been at the White House multiple times in the last few months and had meetings with the president. The mainstream media have not covered any of Nick Shirley's reporting out of Minnesota, but how many millions of people have seen it already? And how many people have covered it already online like I did yesterday, and I know others have covered it too. So millions and millions of people by this time next week, more than would see it on television news, will have seen Nick Shirley's reporting out of the Minnesota corruption. And it's gone viral on social media. So maybe this will be the beginning of something. Now, this is Fox News. They're reporting on Tim Walz. Listen.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is in hot water over fraud in his state. Now, one GOP lawmaker is fighting back with the Walz Act. Congresswoman Miller Meeks saying, quote, the Walls Act is named for a reason, to ensure this level of negligence can never be repeated anywhere else in America. This bill puts hard safeguards in place to protect taxpayer dollars, shut the door on scam artists, and bring real accountability back to government programs. The Small Business Administration also taking action. SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler announcing on X in part, today I informed Governor Tim Walz that the SBA is halting $5.5 million in annual funding to Minnesota, pending further review. Pressure is also building at the local level. Minnesota mayors speaking out over concerns state fiscal policies are hurting their residents.
Within the last 3 months, this has really gone downhill. And Brian, if we do the quick math, $9 billion in fraud divided by 5.79 million Minnesotans comes out to roughly be $1,500 a person that each Minnesotan, each hardworking Minnesotan has had stolen from them from the Walz administration and the policies coming out of St. Paul.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm a Minnesotan, and I'm frustrated with how it had happened, as well as the communication that's happened. So really, our mayors are joining together not to point fingers and blame, but we're here to help solve the problem.
Yeah.
So the governor.
So you know what we have here is not just the biggest financial scandal in history. There's been a lot of financial scandals, right? But what we have is a Democrat financial scandal. This is bigger than any of those Ponzi schemes. Right? And, you go around the country, wherever Democrats are in charge, there's major financial thievery going on and corruption in the billions of dollars. I mean, look at Newsom, just off of that rail system that never happened, right? And these stories are getting out there. And it's getting to the point where I don't think maybe it doesn't matter that the mainstream media are not covering these stories. They're just making themselves less and less significant each time. But I'll tell you this, I had a thought about Nick Shirley last night after the podcast, and I wanted to run this by you. That reporting of Nick Shirley that I covered on yesterday's podcast was some of the most important investigative reporting that I've ever seen. The only thing that comes close to it is James O'Keefe with the Acorn scandal, but I think this was bigger than that. So I was thinking this. What if Barry Weiss over at CBS News hired as a stringer, an independent stringer, Nick Shirley as the new investigative reporter for 60 Minutes? What would you guys think about that? To me, that seems like the most amazing decision that Barry Weiss could make. And I don't want him to be on staff at CBS. He's independent, he's not one of these YouTubers that's connected to some big corporate entity, but kind of like an independent stringer reporter. And let him go out and do what it is he's doing. We don't want any interference. He knows what he's doing. We don't want some CBS liberal news crew behind him. We want him to go out there with whatever he uses now to do what it is he does. Oh. Yeah, if anyone could maybe share that with Barry Weiss, post it and tag her on social media, if she's on social media, that would turn the world upside down. If that report that Nick Shirley did, it was about 45 minutes or so, if that was 60 Minutes, you put that on 60 Minutes, that his 45-minute report, that is 60 Minutes with the commercials. You got to do an intro at the top, an outro at the end, and a quick, maybe a quick intro for the commercial breaks. I don't know. But it's set up for a 60 Minutes. Don't you guys think? There's all these self-important people that think they're journalists, like Megyn Kelly. Nick Shirley is the most amazing investigative journalist this country has seen. And I would put him above even Geraldo in his heyday of when he was doing the Willowbrook and the Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe stuff. What do you think that it's... the president knows Nick Shirley. Do you think that it is at all plausible, that it is at all realistic? Barry Weiss, if you don't know, is the new head of CBS News, and it has all the media free. Do you think that it is at all possible that Barry Weiss at CBS would hire Nick Shirley as the new 60 Minutes correspondent? That would be amazing. And that would turn the world upside down in an instant. It'd be nice if they did it without announcing it. Just did it, and told us like the Friday before where they didn't have time to protest, and then everybody would wait. They would have their highest ratings since the pre-cable days. Really, they would. All right, if you'd like to call in, the number's 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning,
hey, Richie.
Brian. I saw that. Nick Shirley started out, his mother and him went together. She's a reporter, too, believe it or not,
No, I didn't know that. So I guess that's
night.
where he's learned his trade.
Oh, yeah, she goes around. She's a very attractive woman. I mean, and they go together. She's got blonde hair, and it's really interesting. You go back, Nick Shirley's early videos like 3 years ago, and
oh,
he
really?
was only a kid then. He's young. He's very young. And you know what's amazing, that the guy that was with him has been watching this and reporting this stuff to officials for how long? 9 years?
Well, hold on, Richie, while I answer these other phones. The guy. I'm worried about the guy that was with Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley will go back home, but that guy's still in Minnesota. He could wake up decapitated, but from a machete attack.
Well, he's already been. He's been assaulted. He said he's twice already, and I think he said in the last couple of weeks. The thing is this: they're very hostile. You can see it. They're furious.
Well, they're tribal. They're primitive.
Man.
They're primitive tribal people.
They don't talk to anybody. That was another thing I got out of that. They're very close knit, and they don't squeal on each other. They shut and they try to scoot everybody away. They've made. I'm going to say it the way it is. They've made Minnesota Somalia. That's Somalia.
Well, Richie, I was. By the way, guys, if you missed my podcast yesterday, go back and watch it because I did a lot of commentary and coverage of the Nick Shirley. But you know what? I'm not really mad at the Somalis. You've got these primitive tribal people from an uncivilized anarchy of a country that's living like it's prehistoric times. I'm upset with the Democrats. The Democrats put this in place. You think these Somalis just came there and set up the largest financial scandal criminal empire in the history of the United States? I don't think so.
No, I think they did. But what I think the Democrats sat back and watched it happen.
Oh no, the Democrats set them up. The Democrats set them up.
Well,
they're getting paid too, man.
The amount of votes. Yeah, the amount of votes, and I could saw that Congresswoman, I believe she was,
Ilhan Omar.
Congresswoman, blaming Trump. No, the one blaming Trump.
In the video,
local woman,
the local Democrat, yeah, because he oversees Medicaid, yeah.
Yeah, blame the guy at the top, and she said this is normal. It happens everywhere.
Mm-mm.
I mean, this is normal. If this is normal, we shouldn't have to pay taxes anymore.
That's right.
Just go to the tariffs.
That's right.
If this is normal, yeah, because there's no way. And believe it or not, only a portion of federal money goes to that. The other, I found that out too. It's federal and local. So those people in Minnesota, like that man that lives there, they got to be really frustrated. He's a Republican. But they don't even.
But this story. And this is what I'm starting to wonder. Okay, because there was a lot of action in Washington last week on Minnesota, right? And then Nick Shirley, and I'm wondering if Nick Shirley was working with the Trump team somehow to get connected with this guy, which is fine. I mean, because there's an effort here.
Yeah.
And while you were on hold, I don't know if you heard me talking about this. I say, wouldn't it be amazing if Barry Weiss at CBS hired Nick Shirley to be the new 60 Minutes correspondent? He could be the Mike Wallace of the 21st century. And I mean that would change the world in an instant.
You know where he spent most of his time too, in New York City and Portland. Portland is the latest thing. in front of the ICE
Yeah.
facility. He goes all over to where it's bad, but these leftists, these Antifa, they all know.
So
him.
is his mother like
Every
a is
time
his
he-
mother like a professional journalist, or she was just on YouTube with him?
No, the YouTuber. It's amazing how they both start. You got to just go back a couple years to see him, and they go together.
No,
They
I'll
do
look up.
everything
I'll look
together.
up his mother. I'm curious about that that's because he's very. Not only is he very good, he is fearless. He's. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
he's
He's not-
fearless, and you know, he was holding. He uses the same mic that I have here on my shirt here this
Yeah.
whole time, and he's holding this mic up to these guys, and I was watching his hand wasn't even shaking. Did you? And I was watching his hand,
No.
and that was a terrifying,
He has
some
no
terrifying
security?
people. No, he had professional.
no
No. He had professional security on that video. From a
Oh, did he?
From
Okay.
yeah, and he gave them a plug in that video, in that documentary he did, and he's got a fund set up to help pay for his that's why they were not assaulted. Yeah, they were big guys.
Yeah, they would have been
wearing masks.
You see the reception they got at these doors, and the screaming at them, and get
Oh.
out of here! It's none of your business. You don't belong here. Like they've taken over. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
It's a Somalian.
That-
It's a
the
Somalian
arrogance-
colony, is what it is. It's a Somalian colony in
the-
Minnesota.
The arrogance. I mean, every American should see this and say, "Look what the hell is happening to our country." It's arrogance. It's total. It amazes me. It really amazes me.
Well, I would love to
It's
see.
all over.
I would. We know Barry Weiss is in communication with the Trump administration. This has been talked about in the last couple of days by, over that El Salvadorian prison thing. Barry Weiss, I would love it if whatever they have planned for 60 Minutes this weekend, cancel it and just run Nick Shirley's piece. It's about 45 minutes long. With commercials, that's about. They might have to trim out a minute or two. That's okay, But it's about the right running time to fit an hour of 60 minutes with the commercials.
Yeah, you know who had a fallout with Barry Weiss, and who's not talking and says she's no longer my friend? Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, Megyn Kelly. She's freaking out.
Yeah, they haven't. Why? I don't get it. Barry Weiss has a lot more power than Megyn. Yeah,
Megyn Kelly thinks
Barry
she's
Weiss is a lot.
Megyn Kelly thinks she's a journalist. She's not a journalist. She's some hottie who's gotten by on her looks and her legs. Nick Shirley's a journalist. He's out there. He's out there in a hoodie. He's out there in a hoodie with $100 microphone, and he uncovered the biggest story that's ever been reported in the history of American journalism.
How many places did he visit? Like, it was amazing to me. And at each one they said this was $2 million, this was $3 million this year, $2 million last year. I'm saying, and the place is an empty warehouse in the middle of nowhere.
No children in the
And
children's
then,
centers.
Nothing, not one. I mean, you wouldn't put a kid in there. It was like industrial warehouse.
Yeah.
And with signs. Mm-hmm. And then you go into the one building and there's how many healthcare places?
Oh.
You never see, you might see that in a flea market where you see booths.
Really?
But
this is what I'd like to see happen. Barry Weiss run the Nick Shirley documentary on 60 Minutes the Sunday night. And then President Trump really needs to federalize the entire state government of Minnesota. It's not a functioning government. It's one big criminal enterprise. It's like the mafia.
Yeah, did you? Well, I want to tell you this. Did you ever hear of the Procter and Gamble scam that went on in Florida? You were young, so you might not have remembered that.
No.
There was about 20. This is the same as the Somalians did. They must have they took 25 dummy stores. Mm-hmm. Okay, they like little mini convenience stores, and they had somebody in the Miami Herald working, cutting coupons and sending the coupons to these people.
Oh yeah. Hold on one second here. Hold on.
The soap.
Yeah. I do vaguely remember that. Yeah.
It was the soap, and they made tons of money. And they went into one of the stores and they didn't even have any Procter. They didn't have any soap.
Yeah.
It's the same as the children.
Yeah.
They just set up these dummy places.
But see, Richie, this is what's going on. This is a Democrat operation. They're using the Somalians. But here's the thing. I believe that Tim Walz was selected to be the running mate of Kamala because of what they consider to be great work in Minnesota with this financial corruption. That they were bringing him to the federal level to continue this operation at a whole new, probably 50-state level. Why would they pick this guy out of nowhere?
Well, Tim Walz was in Congress too, by the way.
Yes, he was before he was governor. That's right.
So how bad Congress could be? I mean, this right under their nose. They know this is happening, but nobody did anything about it.
That's right. All right, Richie, I got to run, but I appreciate the call.
Have a great morning. Good weekend.
All right, take care. If you're on hold, hang in there. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. We'll take a quick break and be back. On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are, and he went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian.
So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
A fine gentleman. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and we brought all our information, and he worked everything out great.
The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can you talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Well, that's where I was surprised when we sat down. We talked about the bonuses, and to my amazement, it was 10%, and there was even another one that's bigger.
Wow, that's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back in your car.
Yeah, it was more than that, but it was great.
Listen, guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Brian.
We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Hank from Hollywood. How you doing?
All right, Hank, what's on your mind?
I called Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. He sent out Scott. Now, Scott is absolutely the best. Scott and Scott's crew are the absolute best. They gave me a great price. They did the job when they said they were going to do it. They finished the job when they said they were going to do it. The materials they used, absolutely the best. I want to thank Tom. I definitely want to thank Scott, and definitely want to thank Scott's crew. These people are number one, and I just want your listeners to know, Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. If you need a new roof, call Tom at Tom Laporta Roofing. You're not going to go wrong. You're not going to be disappointed.
Do what Hank did. Call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, and online, laportaroofing.com. All right, we're back. If you'd like to call in, it's 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Oh, hey, Mike. What's up?
You know, on these crime stats things, you start out to stream with. Think about this now. This is another edition of the 80-20 issue thing that the Democrats have a problem with right now.
Yeah.
Who in America doesn't want lower crime? People don't want their cities looking like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, forget about the rats, the Republicans against Trump. We know what they are, right? Mm-hmm. I'm strictly speaking of the Democrats. The Democrats have this issue about 80-20.
Yep.
And this is just another edition of they're going to come out on the wrong side of this thing, on the 20% side, whereas 80% of Americans want what Trump is doing with the crime statistics.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Well, you know, I think opposing murder is not an 80-20 issue. I would think it's a 99.9% on against murder. I think the murderers are in favor of it, and that's about it. I would hope. I mean, you know, who's, you know, we have the largest in this year. If you're just joining, the latest statistics, we have the lowest murder rate this year. Murders have dropped, and we have the lowest murder rate than in the history of the statistics recording in history. because of everything Trump's done. I mean, how many people are alive? And how many people, by the way, had been wounded, like in attempted murders that weren't, right? Because when the whole murder rate's down, the murders that end with the person surviving are down too. It's amazing. How many people are alive because of Trump in this country?
And the thing about it is, it's not just the murder rates, it's the stuff you mentioned. You mentioned the auto thefts are down and things of that nature. I mean, I remember a few years back, there was not just the stolen cars, but people were stealing these catalytic converters out of cars.
Yeah, for the platinum and palladium. They have palladium in them.
Yeah, so that's down, and then of course they don't like the fact that Trump was part of this thing is Trump torpedoing these drug boats.
I know, it's insane. Why? You know, they're defending the rights of the drug traffickers. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, you had a call a few weeks back on your show from an actual drug user that said he's finding it hard to get his fix because the drug boats have been, shut down and the supply is not there anymore. The prices are high,
yeah. I saw this meme the other day. Maybe some of you guys have seen it. It was very funny. It said, it was on the drug boats, it said, "This is your boat." And then below it said, "This is your boat on drugs." And it was the boat being exploding. It was funny with the rocket attack.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. Trump might have come up with that one. All right, take care, Mike from Louisiana. Oh man. I don't want to get into this too much. I just want to mention this liberal meltdown on Trump's name being added to the Kennedy Center. So what? Who cares? All the reports have said that the Kennedy Center was basically a condemned building. And when I watched the Kennedy Center honors hosted by President Trump, it looked beautiful. Who cares that it's the Trump Kennedy Center now? Who cares? Why is that so important? When and they say, well, he died. Well, they both were shot by the same people, by the way. So what? That Trump's name is on it. All the statues and monuments and memorials that they shut down when Obama was president and around the country at the local level, and this is something that they think is a big deal. Give me a break. But Nick Shirley did great work. And, Tucker Carlson really blew it. And if you remember, when he was fired at Fox News, he was celebrated by the entire MAGA movement. Because remember why they fired him? Because of his January 6th coverage. Remember, Kevin McCarthy was speaker and gave Tucker Carlson all the footage from the Capitol on January 6th. And they had one night. He only got to report one night. And that first night was when he showed the shaman being led around the Senate portion of the Capitol by Capitol police officers looking for an unlocked door to take him into the Senate chamber, and they finally found one for the photographer to be there to take the picture of him. You know what I mean? It showed it was a total setup. The guy got out of lockup early because of Tucker, and he did that, and that was it. He didn't release any other things for the rest of that week, and they fired him because he was doing incredible reporting. That's why he was fired, and that's why he was celebrated by MAGA when Fox fired him, because he was fired for exposing the truth of January 6th. And that's why he became like the main speaker at Turning Point. But he's burned every bridge to the MAGA movement. He is just a terrible, despicable person. And he could have been somebody, right? He could have been somebody. And he blew it. And he's not a credible person anymore. Isn't it really sad? And my guess is, I do believe that he's a CIA guy, like his father. Okay, that is multi-generational in families and stuff. But I think what's happened with Tucker, I think it's a mix of two things. I do think he's a CIA guy. I also think that it's money. You know, he was making $20 million a year at Fox News. You got a big lifestyle with that, you know? And I think it's a mix of his deep state undermining the country. He's working for the same people that put together this Edition 6 video, trying to cause an uprising in the military. It's the same people. But he's also sold out for the money. Here's a recent clip of him.
Interesting. TPUSA did a poll during AmFest, or I guess it was after AmFest, and they asked the audience, what they considered to be the greatest threat to America. And they did put radical Islam at number one. I'm wondering where you think those sentiments are coming from. I mean, I've heard you say before that this is an op, and that we all know which foreign government it's actually coming from. Which government is it, and can you explain how that operation works? How is it, kind of lured into those?
From the Israeli government and its many defenders and informal employees in the United States, of course. And I guess I would just say if that was actually, I don't know how people responded to the poll, I don't know who answered it, but, I believe in measuring reality a little more empirically. And, I don't know anyone in the United States in the last 24 years who's been killed by radical Islam.
Really? Fort Hood? Boston bombing? I mean, it happens. I mean, I don't know these people personally. I mean, maybe he doesn't know any of them personally, but it's happening all over the place. And basically what Tucker Carlson has become is the spokesperson for the Islamic Anti-Defamation League. He's like the leading spokesman in America for the Muslim world. He's talking about since 9/11. There have been multiple incidents, okay, over the years. And I mean, we could look them up and go through them, but just off the top of my head, Boston bombing, Fort Hood, and there have been many others. This is totally insane. And this Edition 6 with that video about the military was a 100% CIA op. Remember, the lady senator is a CIA person, and that's what they do to undermine governments around the world. They're doing it here, but Tucker's part of it too. There's a lot of disruption, and that's why Tucker and Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, these are people you really have to just tune out. Now, if you're on hold, don't go anywhere. If you'd like to call, I've got some more stories I want to cover. If you would like to call in, the number is toll free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. If you'd like to support my channel and my content and everything I do, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description in whatever platform you happen to be listening on. And if you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to commercial-free editions of all my podcast episodes, as well as exclusive live streams I do only on Patreon. It's live. There's a chat room. It's on the Patreon platform for Patreon supporters only. It is a no-troll zone. Trolls are not allowed. No liberals there. And if you're a top Patreon supporter, you get your name up on the screen here on YouTube, and you get a live on-air thank you shout-out. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters. I want to thank SF Jr., Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, Lee Zepp, Shauna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, and Doris. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And again, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description of the program on whatever platform you're listening on. And you can also go directly to patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. We'll be right back.
Discover a world of innovation at Sylvan, where cutting-edge drones, massage gadgets, and smart robots meet thoughtful home solutions. Explore advanced technologies that spark curiosity, photography gear that captures life's best moments, and stylish fashion accents that complete your look. From cozy bedding and sleek furniture to clever storage, smart home devices, and essential family tools, Sylvan brings inspiration to every corner of your life. Navigate to CYLVAN.com and uncover unique finds that make your home, work, and daily routine feel effortlessly exceptional. Sylvan, where innovation meets life. Welcome to Victorina, where smart home solutions meet everyday convenience. Discover advanced technologies, home essentials, wellness must-haves, family and parenting tools, stylish fashion accents, and practical gadgets, all thoughtfully chosen to simplify your life. Take a moment to visit VICTORENA.com and explore our versatile selection designed to make every day smoother, smarter, and more enjoyable. Victorina, curated for life's special moments. Step into Finest Goods Point, your destination for everything you need to elevate everyday life. From sleek gadgets and smart home electronics to cozy fashion pieces, wellness treasures, and practical home solutions, our handpicked collection ensures quality and style in every corner. Explore innovative kitchen tools, organized storage, stylish furniture, beauty essentials, and more. Carefully curated to make daily routines effortless and inspiring. Glide over to finestgoodspoint.shop and uncover finds that bring convenience, comfort, and a touch of sophistication to your home and lifestyle. Finest Goods Point. Quality you can feel every day. Discover a world of curated essentials at Encorin, where thoughtful home solutions, stylish fashion, innovative gadgets, and wellness must-haves come together to simplify and enrich daily life. From cozy hoodies and statement shoes to sleek home electronics, organized storage, and smart tools, there's something for every corner of your home and lifestyle. Cruise over to encoren.com and explore hand-picked selections that make every day a little smoother and more enjoyable. Encorin, everyday essentials, thoughtfully curated.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. All right, now, this anti-Semitism that is just infecting this country today, which is just disgusting, I want to share a story with you, which is something you don't hear that often. One of the October 7th Israeli hostages, a young girl, she's 23 years old now, she was kidnapped, and she gave an interview in Israel, and she did something that I haven't heard before, and she gave an interview on Israeli television detailing the sexual abuse in detail of what she went through by these Islamic Palestinian monsters. And you can watch this interview. I posted this story to my ex. It is in Hebrew and it's translated. I'm not going to play it for you here. Her name's Ronnie. It's just terrible. And she had... she in the interview, she was talking about after, like, it was like her third or fourth time they raped her. She said she thought that everybody in Israel thought that she's dead, and this was going to be the rest of her life was going to be that of a sex slave. And she told a lot of details about the abuse of others that she saw. And you know, in these wars that we've been in with Muslims, there's been, you know, in like with Iraq and things, there have been Americans who have been captured. In the first Gulf War, when George H.W. Bush was president, Bush 41, Bush 1 was president, there were a handful of prisoners that were captured. One of them was one of the first women to graduate West Point. She was, when the Iraqis raped her without mercy. She never talked about it. It came out years later. The military covered it up, and she never talked about it because when she was questioned about it many years later, she said she never brought that up because she thought it would hurt the role of women in combat if she detailed it. If you remember, during Operation Iraqi Freedom with Bush 2, G.W. Bush, Jessica Lynch was a female Army mechanic who was captured by the Iraqis, and she was rescued by the Special Forces. Remember that? She was the first prisoner of war rescued since the Second World War. She was raped without mercy. And and she never talked about it, and it was covered up by the American media as well. And these women that were captured and taken to Gaza were sexually assaulted, raped without mercy. She said that she detailed this one that took place in a bathroom, and she belonged to this guy, and she said that she was crying, and he was ecstatic. She said, as if he had won his prize. He was on top of the world, like he had been given his gift, his lottery winnings, for what he had done for their movement. So I share this story, and again, this is in the Gateway Pundit reported this story. It's an interview she did with Israeli television. I posted this on my X at Brian Craig Show, and you can go there and watch the interview. It's in subtitles. These are the people that you and Candace Owens are saying are the victims. Okay? And I challenge you that are on this anti-Semitic rant to go and watch that interview and ask yourself, what have you been doing? What have you been supporting? Why are you on that side? Okay? Why? Think about it and have some real reflection on who and what you are supporting. Because I think a lot of you just have no idea. On yesterday's show, I got a call from an anti-Semite. If you missed my show yesterday, you should go back and listen to it and watch it about Nick Shirley. I got some very interesting call from this anti-Semite, and I brought up some things to him about the Israeli issue that he had never heard before, and he was like, what? And also, my Christmas, I did a live stream. It was 4 hours long on Christmas morning. I did a live stream on Christmas morning because here at my house, we did a Christmas Eve Christmas, right? My daughter came over, the grandparents came over, and I did a live stream. And I thought I would live stream for an hour maybe, and it ended up being 4 hours, and I had some incredible calls and conversations in a way you've probably not heard on the program all that much. And in particular, the call from the transgendered person from California was an amazing conversation. So if you did not catch my Christmas morning 4-hour live stream, go and check that out, okay? You'll be blown away. That transgendered caller, that was an amazing conversation, and I definitely gave them something to think about. But liberals in general are lunatics. Listen to this liberal lady. I apologize for her language in advance.
My favorite thing to do right now is to be super fucking rude to Nazis. I mean Trumpers, same thing. It is so fucking fun and so easy. They are such an easy fucking mark. They all are mouth breathers. They all usually have a flag on somewhere. So they're super identifiable.
Really? That's like a bad thing? What does she mean, like a pride flag, a transgendered flag? What is she talking about?
And I'm just rude. I'm as rude as possible. I cut them off in line. I give them dirty looks. I say shit under my breath only they can hear.
Yeah, she is very rude. She's talking with, is that food in her mouth or is that her dentures? I'm not sure. And her language, my goodness.
They will react usually and say, why were you so rude? And I say, why are you so stupid? And then they get really pissed. And then they'll ask me again, you're fucking rude. Or they'll say, you're fucking rude. And I'll say, and you're a fucking Nazi. And they'll go, what? And I'll be like, sorry about your luck, man. My grandpa told me I was supposed to beat the fucking brakes off of Nazis, but I'm not violent anymore, so I'm just rude to you motherfuckers now.
I'm not violent anymore, so she has a history of violence? What a nutcase.
They do not like that. So much fun. So much fun. I got to tell one that, sorry, bro, but you've been telling us for a decade that being empathetic was weak and woke. I have no empathy for stupid motherfuckers. Get fucked, Nazi.
Oh, my goodness. You think she's single? I would think so. She is most definitely probably a single lady. Now, from one liberal lady to another, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Oh, my goodness. Is this video from Halloween?
And you have a president who has an incredibly unpopular agenda, whose approval rating is the worst or second worst since they've been measuring.
The opposite of that is true, by the way. Maybe among liberals that they're,
You pull out the Autocrat 101 playbook and you scapegoat the vulnerable. And that's what this is about. I mean, the reports out of the immigration detention centers that we're hearing, even without the Washington Post report, have credible threats of credible reports of torture. We have immigrants who are dying in these detention centers. The conditions are horrific. I can confirm that from having gone to the Everglades Detention Center.
Oh, please. This is really shameful. What she's just making crap up here, okay? And I'll play the rest of it. But it's really shameful. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is Jewish. And basically, she's describing our ICE facilities as Nazi concentration camps, really, is what she's doing here.
Where I sponsored legislation to have it shut down. This is a situation where Donald Trump wants to draw people's attention away from the fact that life in America under his presidency is unaffordable, skyrocketing healthcare costs, which are about to get worse in 4 days from now when the enhanced premium tax credits expire, increasing rents and unacceptably high utility rates. So, of course, scapegoating the vulnerable is what this is about, but we need to make sure that there is transparency and sunlight on what's going on in these detention centers. And we need to hold him to his promise where he lied and said at the beginning of his term this year that he was going to go after the worst of the worst. That is the furthest thing from what's happening.
Well, then why are all the crime statistics so low? And so far as in the sunlight, if I were Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the sunlight is the last place I'd want to be. I'd want to be in the shadows. Boy, that's hard to look at, isn't it? That jolt you guys awake? Oh, my goodness. These crime rates that I went over that are just huge drops in all the worst crimes that I went through at the beginning of the program here, a huge chunk of that is because of the great work that ICE has been doing with the worst of the worst. That is a fact. All right, now we're going to hear from President Bartlett. There was I don't want to say the name of the actor. They're a well-known actor, and they're a Republican, and if I told you their name, you would know who they are. They're a well-known Hollywood actor who has been they're a TV star, and they've been in multiple television shows and TV movies. And you would know who they were if I told you. And I knew they were a Republican. They were a friend of mine, and I knew they were a Republican because when President Reagan died, they had his body lying in the casket was lying in the Reagan Museum, and people would line up to go view the casket, and I saw him in line with his wife, so I knew he was a Republican. And he's a friend of a friend. And so I started talking to him about Republican stuff, and we were having this great conversations and things like this. And I told him, I said, I knew you were a Republican because I saw you at the Reagan casket. And he says, that's so sad that you just assume I'm a liberal because I'm an actor. I was like, well, what are you going to do? And he told me a story about Martin Sheen. And he said, I've been at parties in Hollywood, and Martin Sheen comes in. And he actually he thinks President Bartlett's a real person. And Martin Sheen walks around like he's the effing president when he comes to parties. It's hilarious. And he was laughing about it, And he said that he was one of the I don't want to say who this was, but he said that he was in a science fiction show where he played a leader in a galactic leader in a science fiction television show. He said Martin Sheen comes in, he thinks he's president of the effing United States. It would be like me walking into a party thinking I'm president of the whole universe because I played this guy on television, But anyway, this is President Bartlett, Martin Sheen, who's he's such a great parent, huh? Look what a great job he did with Charlie. Here he is talking about President Trump.
So the big guy in the White House...
See, he can't even say his name. He can't even say President Trump.
So the big guy in the White House, if he would take some personal advice, you've got to realize, sir, that you are the biggest nothing in the world. And
oh, look at her. Look at Nicole Wallace. Now, Nicole Wallace, she is, yeah, I know. She is a Republican, remember. She worked for John McCain. Look at how giddy she is. I've never seen Nicole Wallace so happy in my life. And by the way, her husband's that liberal jerk, too, that was connected to the seditious six.
And sir, you stop there. You stop listening to all these people around you, these sycophants who are encouraging you to be your non-human self. Get in touch with that humanity. Stop fussing with your hair. And don't worry about your tie. And stand up straight and speak clearly, not from your throat. Speak from your heart. And start being human. That's what you were made for, not golf. So there you are, Mr. President. With all due respect, sir.
Oh, look at her. She's so excited. An auditorium of lunatics. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, President Bartlett. By the way, Apocalypse Now is overrated, okay? It's overrated. I only watch it because, you know, Han Solo's got a small role in it. But the liberals are just consumed with their anger, no doubt about it. By the way, if you're new to my program, make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are on. Let me share this last one with you. Hold on. Here's a liberal lady.
Do we liberal intellectuals understand why MAGA hates us?
Oh, she just identified as a liberal intellectual. Wow. Okay, well, let's find out what this liberal intellectual thinks.
Do we liberal intellectuals understand why MAGA hates us? I don't think we do, because I don't. Like, I don't have money, but, like, can you feel this, like, sense of superiority that I have? For no reason. It's no really great reason, but I do have it, and it's weird, because I do have MAGA friends.
Oh, really?
I'm not that hoity-toity where I don't have any MAGA friends. I live in an area, if I didn't have some MAGA, I wouldn't have any friends. But, so I have this one friend, Laura, and she's really, I don't know if I would say smart, she's sharp. Like, sharper than me. Like, she's really good at math and business and shit that I'm not good at.
She's successful.
She's decent at debating. But I said, yeah, Laura, but you're not intellectual. And she goes, what does that mean? I'm like, that's exactly what I mean, because you don't know what intellectual means. Why not know what that means? I'm like,
she knows what it means. She's asking how it applies to her, stupid.
It's the desire to learn and want to learn and enjoy learning and learning weird, eclectic shit for no reason because you want to learn it. I don't know, man. And that's what makes me fucking feel superior to you. I'm sorry. But like, I also know that, like, that's bad. I'm like, I know enough to, like, know that, like, that's bad of me. Like, to feel that way towards someone, that I need to love her anyway. That's what a liberal is. And I'm like, how is that bad for me to be a liberal? I just want you to have good things.
Oh, my goodness. You notice how these liberal women, they're big on the F word, aren't they? They just love the F word. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. I got a couple other wanted to play. Hold on a second here. So I got a couple more liberal women. Listen to this one. This is great. These are some street interviews. They're asking if you could change the Constitution, what are some things that you would change?
So if you guys could change the Constitution in one way, how would you change it?
Her first, gov major.
Gov major.
Georgetown
I was
University.
literally going to say legalize abortion. Maybe abortion law.
It is legal. It is legal.
So if you guys could change the Constitution in one way, how would you change it?
Her first, gov major.
Georgetown University. I was literally going to say legalize abortion. Maybe abortion laws, rights to abortion, like transgender rights to have surgery, without necessarily parental consent. Yes, you have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean you have right to sit there and scream at someone because they choose to change their gender or they love the same sex, things like that.
So should we add trans rights to the Constitution?
Absolutely. Definitely adding in like policies that like make healthcare more accessible for like immigrants as well as like people in low-income communities. I just think we need to get the old white fucks out of power, but that's not really a constitution issue.
Oh, really? Doesn't she realize she's growing older too every second? It's got Logan's Run going. This thing about reproductive health, reproductive freedom, is what they talk about. When it comes to reproductive activities, women are 100% in control. Men and young men, all they want to do is have sex. But they don't have it that much, if at all. Why? Because women decide, right? Women are when it comes to the activities that involve reproduction, women call all the shots, don't they? Exactly. So, this idea that these women think that they don't have reproductive control over their bodies, they're in 100% control. That's the way it is because women decide who has sex and with who and when. Almost 100% of the time, okay? So there you go. So I don't know what more control they want. I mean, they have it all. Here's another liberal winner. Another class act from the left.
You know what? There's one thing about me as a server. If you come into my job with a fucking MAGA hat on, you...
Another liberal woman who's big on the F word.
You know what? There's one thing about me as a server. If you come into my job with a fucking MAGA hat on, you can leave. Get out.
Oh.
We don't...
What about the guy that owns the restaurant or the franchise? The server's kicking out customers? How nice of her to do to the owner of the restaurant or the franchisee.
You know what? There's one thing about me as a server. If you come into my job with a fucking MAGA hat on, you can leave. Get out. We don't serve your kind here. Y'all want to be racist so bad? Okay, let me discriminate against you. And if somebody else gets to them before I do, oh, best believe I'm spilling your drinks, your food, your hot-ass ramen all over you.
Oh
You're gonna leave here with third-degree fucking burns, bitch. Get the fuck out of my restaurant.
It's not your restaurant. You just work there, and that would be a felony. I mean, if you purposely gave someone third-degree burns, wouldn't that be a felony? Oh, here's another classy Democrat lady.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton.
Oh, she's done picking. So is she telling us that she used to pick cotton? With those nails? I don't think so.
Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. I know that's right.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad Texas did the right thing by taking her district away from her. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, if you're new to my program, make sure that you subscribe. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.